Atramaka be Shlama Lokoniti Kaponspaila and even George Maragulov, I Lahuzat Otroit Udio, Yumit Kloshiva, Trisar Birkat, December, Katon Bitaile, live, Mendited Los Angeles, Mendited Kuligavo, Malachiat, Men Perdesatina. Oxas and Nuira Helanele, Nashmat Hordan, Version Jahannam. Sub California Midget, Hadari Nuira Viele. كل كان بقيادة كما يمان خافوخ خلانه إن خد سري من خافوخ خلانه كسانتا أنا كغالي شمو إن كنا يبنا نخني خبص بايا كخرجت دياتر مغب أنا مرد بالا مثل خا آسيا أترايا بخشام أخشي خا آسيا أتنا كتير شلون جلدة سبيشالتي ويلي جلدة قبل مشينا كم يقرأ ريتشارد ذاك السلام عليكم
داخلتون سبايتون أترى باسيمة قريب شد لكم لخا
كاتن لكشت إقارة لا كتوهم بغزاية با قدا شو كت أدوات خش بودجان وخمسم ميكا بيت أمريكا بريه بيت من إيران تيه بيت خش بودجان وخمسم كم هذاك
أنا دوزس تانوك أنا جو إيران إمبا بريما جو إيران جو تهران إخبا كنا 8 با خنا من تهران من إيران ركلان خشلان ألمان خش تما كماشن تما خيلي خنا باردين دا تيلي جو شيتا إتشي 1995 إيبا تيلي أمريكا كنا عادية خب قامت إيما جو يانكرز نيويورك كنا خاشيتا بلغي من قامت يتيخ تورلاك عادية بلخانن جو جز إيمانيو ميديكال سنتر جو تورلاك
Normally, أتركت كياتيني كم تكياتيني شيكاغو ين كياتيني تورلاك إن كم تيدوك تيجو يانكرز هذا تيجي كم تيجو يانكرز برات ماوني تامو ومن تامو تيجي أمريكا يانكرز تيجي كشيكاغو من شيكاغو برداتين داخل لوس أنجلس كنت خاص سافرت لان راب غداين كتاماني توديو خادك گوشی خامیلا میکرن نوری باید من نخون هم زمینی نوری فکر
السلام عليكم
راب شنو
الهي بس
هي كم هي تقدم
أنا سمسم بخاري من دكتور بكر
هي بسمع له
دكتور سلام عليكم أنا نوري بالتابع بنتي هذه تجيبهم رابط سبايلر رابط غداية تنتي تبدأ تتخزبها أنا خطريت أنا فلسك لأن خطريت بخاري تفعلي بخاري قام يبتعبيني السورايسيس كانت ناشب دواكنا بداية الأقلات إلى البرشات إلى الإيداتي أها قلت قامو أتغير لخمسة شهور خرطة إكلت شارة مجري أداخل كانت أنا بسميني إذا بخاري ذكري كانت بخاري خارج التابع أكمل جلد برازنا إذا تلبت نيمان خامولي وقت جلد باشور اختج برخله إنا خدمة جاهد غزاية رابع خيوشة بفيها لله وجلدة قد برازل إثلا خشارة قد خشورة باشوية قد برازيت أكل جلدة بسمانة همچنان بسیم جوابم بیدیتون
رام سپای شان جواب خیبه باست سورایسیس دوزلا لاش میلی سپای
نورك سورايسس هي
سورایسیس دیوار هی باست در مارد گلده ابا خورتوا
ترى بقى خاخ سورايسس الى خاخ كم مرض قلده برازيلي بخياكلي منو چارو
خنا قبوغارا كامتا الى psoriasis الى autoimmune disorder الى موبايل الى مثلا بوغد غانا قناشه جلد ناشه اتاك بالا جلدا خنا رابا ناشه مثلا خچ مرة الى خچ مثلا جلد رابا برازنا خك بدا دم بلاتنا من رابا مخ autoimmune الى يعني بوغد غانا the white blood cells بوغد جلد غانا اتاك بالا so قداها رابا من يعني كمسد audit الى ايتن خجور light therapy قاتو يابنا خك مدانا كمسد خد درمانان شكلت درمانان اینا special اینا درمانان که immune system بوش stop انا لنا مثلا مشواقة پاغر گانو attack بارله so ایتن درمان رابا مثلا طیمانه اینا درمانه ولی خینا گری انا خینا مبلختون أنا كم سنة بخيتهم كمساقة immune system البغرة خجة أتيا إلتر كنا بوسبا كم سنة أويد ولي رابا مرة رابا خربة مرة إلى بداية ليتن خاتشور قدا مرة كم سنة مثلا درمانان الشكل إيتن injections قدايا أدخل من يعني كم سنة أويد ولي رابا خربة مرة إلى قدنا که مثلا نشه که گلده question number 2 الى که گلده که مثلا رابا بریز نه گری مثلا کم سد lotions رابا ایتن سپای lotions ایتن out there که کم سد مپلختون انا گانی دوستان نکن انا گلدی رابا برازیل رابا جلن انا همش lotion خان الپاتی الایداتی so رابا ناشه گری مثلا خچ می رابا میا شاتی ناشه که مثلا گلده رابا برازیل میا بشتاینا بوسپای باله گلده خچ بوش راکی خوایله سو انا رکومند باره نخنو کن میا شاتی تون با لوشن اودیتون رابا
باسم رابا دكتور خنا اديه نو ديو خيله انا ستيج شوكنا كديو بداين بايت همزمت خش سلايد كاتن شتريبت اترمغ انا دكتور همزملان كت امستني خبرانو كل تانيلون كنت خاب وقار لا باخرن دان تو خلاف كما بقار بار بتمت الشكل الله همزمني جاببلن تانكت مود كل نايت كت امستني بوزودا كتو متانوتو يوني متمنيانه كاوديتو كل خبست جلده پیشایید که کانسر گلده دکتر شورت گدا سپیشالیست گدا شورله و خد دکترتن که دانا بودن گدا شورای دکتر ریچارد که بدایم شکن که تو خود دانا که امسد بدیه هم زمت بشاره هم سلایت قامته پردم
مرسی انا دکتر انا specialty الى pathology so أنا even أنا دكتور كي مثلاً جو بميكروسكوب كل مثلاً آزمایش بارد مثلاً خامني مثلاً بايبسي بشكالتون من خيدوتا شادرنا قدي أنا بميكروسكوب غزاين تانا كي مرض سرطان إلى يا لا أنا مخا special training إكلي جو مرض جلدة so board certified even جو dermatopathology so أنا مثلاً رابع دي experience تريشن أدي من training بليتن أدي جو إيمانويل بالخانن أنا خا PowerPoint إكلي بان شامخ إسري تيلان سلايد إينا كم سخشارخ بسلايد number 2 إينا risk factors for skin cancer يعني متمنيانة إينا كيقا ناشي مثلا ناشي مثلا أنا منيانة أوديلون بوش خير بلا بوش جلن كانسر بشكالن الجلدة أنا دي إنجليزي خاطر همزمن بوش حسناي إلى so our body, there are 4 risk factors for skin cancer. So the most common one is sun exposure. People that get a lot more sun exposure, let's say people go surfing, people that live in states such as California, Phoenix, Florida, they get more skin cancers. Smoking also causes skin cancer. Alcohol, People that take more alcohol than usual, they also get skin cancer at a higher rate. And then the last one is really genetics. Some people have bad genetics. Some people, get cancer at a young age. Some people get multiple of these cancers. So some people just have really bad genetics, and there's nothing you can do about that. At least with smoking, you can stop smoking. You can, with sun exposure, you maybe stay indoors a lot more. But with genetics, there's not much you can do. Slide number 3. We'll talk about how sun exposure, what sun exposure does to for people to get skin cancer. So the sun has ultraviolet radiation. It gives off UVA and then UVB. These are the two most common types of radiation, ultraviolet radiation, that the sun gives you. UVA is actually the one that causes aging. So some people have maybe their skin looks like it's more aged, maybe more wrinkles, maybe more age spots that they get. And then there's also UVB, ultraviolet B, and that actually causes the sunburn, And one interesting thing is that with UVA, if you stay indoors, the light actually doesn't penetrate the windows, so it cannot come through the windows. So that's one important thing. So UVB is the one that really causes the sunburn. Both of these types of radiation actually can cause skin cancer, and they can actually cause direct damage to the skin. And whenever you have chronic damage to the skin, you can get, you're at a higher risk for getting skin cancer. Next slide talks about tanning. Is there a safe way to tan? Because we know that a lot of people love to tan. I mean, we live in a culture that, young people nowadays, they like to tan. But there's really no safe way of tanning, because tanning is actually bad for your skin. What happens is when people tan, their skin darkens, and that's because there's melanin that's produced. Now, melanin is actually a protective substance that your body produces to counteract the damage that you get from ultraviolet radiation. So, and that's why your skin darkens. And every time you tan your skin, there's damage to your skin, and that damage kind of accumulates over time, and then that also causes your skin to age faster. So we know that people that tan a lot sometimes actually look older. They may look nice to themselves, but their skin looks more wrinkled, more age pigment, sunspots. And it doesn't. It really increases your risk for skin cancer.
Doctor, I have a question. For
yes.
Tanning under the sun or tanning in the studio or the salons, it's the same effect?
Yeah, actually, tanning in the sun and tanning in a studio, it has really the same effect. Basically what's happening is your skin gets more exposure to more than normal exposure to sun, to the harmful rays of the sun, and that can actually over time will lead to skin cancer. So you really have to be very careful with how much sun exposure you get, whether you go outside, especially in California. I mean, we have to be very, very careful. But if you choose to go to a tanning salon, you're getting a lot of harmful, these rays to your skin, and that will really damage your skin. The next slide, slide number 5, this is actually a UV camera that actually shows exactly what the damage is. And you have 2 panels of pictures, 2 people. The first panel of 3 pictures is an older lady, and then the bottom three pictures are of a younger patient who's only 17 years old. On the left side, you see what their skin looks like, but then with the UV camera, you see all the two pictures at the far right. You see that there's a lot more of these brown spots, and that actually shows that the patient actually has sun damage. So sometimes by looking at someone's skin, you can't really tell how much sun damage that they have. But if you use a UV camera, which dermatologists use to look at the person's skin, that will really tell you how much damage the patient has. So let's go to the next slide, slide number 6. Now, 1 in 5 Americans will actually develop skin cancer in their lifetime. You know, that's just a given, you know, and there's not much you can do about that. You know, sometimes with the genetics that will not help, but, you know, that's actually a large number. So eventually people will all get skin cancer. I mean, the older you get, you know, you have just more skin damage from just sun exposure. You're more susceptible to getting skin cancer. So let's go to slide number 7. The more than 3.5 million skin cancers in more than 2 million people are diagnosed in the United States every year, and that is just a big number. And the 3 most important and most common skin cancers that we hear of are number 1, basal cell carcinoma, number 2, squamous cell carcinoma, and then what we often hear is melanoma. And in this picture on the far left, you can see a classical picture of what a basal cell carcinoma looks like. In the middle, you see what a squamous cell carcinoma looks like, and on the far right, you see a picture of melanoma. It's very important that early detection, that we detect these cancers quickly, because they can be treated, and that's why we have to make sure that you know, we often examine our own skin, and I'll get into that a little bit later.
One more question, doctor.
Sure.
The skin cancer based on ethnicity.
Yeah, you know,
which one is get more? You said 2 million a year to get American they get skin cancer. From which ethnicity? The white, black, brown? Which ones get more?
Yeah, actually, so Caucasians. So the lighter your skin is, the more likely you will have skin cancer, and that's because, you know, the darker your skin texture, the darker your skin is, the more melanin your skin has. And like I said earlier, melanin is actually a protective substance, so it protects against skin cancer. So darker individuals are less likely to develop skin cancer, but they can still develop skin cancers. You know. A very good question. Next slide, slide number 8. So we'll start with the most common skin cancer, which is a basal cell carcinoma. And in my own practice, this is the most frequent cancer that I diagnose on a daily basis. You know, and it's most often on sun-exposed areas such as the face, the scalp, the ears, the chest, the back, and the legs. You know, and these tumors can look very different, you know. The most common appearance of basal cell carcinoma is that of a small dome-shaped bump, and it usually has a pearly white color, you know. And importantly is that, you know, we get patients that come in and they say, well, you know, I have this bump and it keeps bleeding and it's sore, and I put some cream on there, but it just keeps bleeding and it just never really stops. That's really a classical sign of a basal cell carcinoma. It was just a tumor that just bleeds a lot, you know, and it just keeps recurring, you know, unless you take it out. And studies have shown that if you have already one basal cell carcinoma, you have a 40% chance of having another one, and multiple. So we know that people often present with multiple basal cell carcinomas, and there's actually even a genetic association with people that have multiple, that actually get multiple basal cell carcinomas. And also people that have multiple basal cell carcinomas, they also get the other cancers, such as squamous cell carcinoma and also melanoma. The next slide, slide number 9, is that of squamous cell carcinoma, and this is the second most common of skin cancer. And more than 700,000 new squamous cell carcinomas are diagnosed each year in the United States alone. And these are a little bit, they look a little bit different than basal cell carcinomas. These are more crusty and scaly. So if you put your hand on there, it kind of has this feeling of Velcro a little bit. It has usually an inflamed base, so it's very, very red appearing. It can be ulcerated, so your skin can look ulcerated. And like basal cell carcinomas, they're found on sun-exposed skin, such as the face, the neck, arms, scalps, the back of the hands, very, very common, and then also the ears, very, very common sites. But it can also occur on the lips and the inside of the mouth, and that's why we tell people to use sunscreen even on the lips when they go outside. We have squamous cell carcinomas occurring in the genitalia, so pretty much anywhere, And the thing about squamous cell carcinomas is that if they're left untreated, they're very destructive, And you can actually, people have actually lost their ears. They have lost part of their noses. They can be very, very aggressive locally. And the thing about basal cells, unlike squamous cells, unlike basal cells, squamous cell carcinomas can actually spread to different parts of your body. So they can be very, very aggressive. They can spread to lymph nodes, and people can actually die from that. So it's very important that you detect these cancers, especially squamous cell carcinoma, early.
Doctor, we have to go to commercial. I'm sorry for a couple of minutes. We'll be back in the next segment. I'm going to ask you between woman and a man. Which one has a more chance of getting cancer?
Sure.
Plus, some other questions are going to come up. Thank you very much. Let's go to commercial. We'll be back in a few minutes. Thank you. أترمغ بسامت قامة خرز صغيرة خون كتم زملة كمان من ديانة باس وايلة كانسر بريشيت شمشة شتيتا بابروس لا تفاوت قدم ستيت بخايتهم عشان جو ستيت كخمة رابع جو خروري رابع أريزونا من كاليفورنيا بوزو ده شانسة لهم كسب جو شمشة رابع وايتهم بوزو كابودايم وج شانس كدناشة كانسر دعوكي دكتور كما أعزك دوستان مخینت خورزیم بس مالخون بقرب كما شانس تفاوت بين نقبة من أرزة كما تفاوت هذا إمني بوجود لو ده كداوة كانسر.
Dus is dan nog een Robert's question, Ila. Most cancers in a go urze. Urze bushrabe cancer ham skin cancers, ham lung cancer. Culaminiad cancer generally urze bushraba chance klon ke cancer shakli men nitbe. So ayla likhbada qamu, but urze bushraba risk klon men cancer avila. So yeah, that's for sure.
All right. Qamu urze bush plkhane le bush badari le bush zoda gishmshe le bush zoda popros begrashe le bush zoda bishtaye le
بخشامن رابع عن الريسك فاكتورز دوسس تاني نكون لخ بدا قامو but عن الريسك فاكتورز كأتوز عادي من روح بس مثلا smoking alcohol هي أورزة بشربة مثلا أنا من يعني بعدنا so بشام بشربة عن الريسك فاكتورز because of that رابع مثلا أنا بابرس بجراشنا بشتاينا but أنا بخشامن إلى there's also genetic component كخكمة أورزة بشربة or أورزة in general بشربة أنا cancer بشكلنا because of genetics. I think that's really the most important aspect. So we don't know which genes they are, but they just get them more.
How about the diet, food? Any particular food they have to not to eat?
Yeah, I mean, even and this is the same thing. the diet, a healthy diet, the Western diet, the American diet is just very, very unhealthy. I think, like burgers and greasy, fatty foods, just unhealthy, chemically treated foods that we eat here in America, all lead to increased risk of cancer. I mean, you look at Japan and other countries in Europe, the United States definitely has a high risk of cancers, because of really, there's definitely a link between the diet that we have, the Western diet, and increased risk for cancer, but not just cancer, but, diabetes, high blood pressure. That's just what we have to deal with here in America.
How about pharmaceutical? Are they in the part of this?
Pharmaceuticals, I think, I don't think that there's a risk, with pharmaceuticals. I think they really, the medication that come out are very well tested. The FDA really mandates that, whatever drug is out there is actually, tried on animals first, and they should be safe. But I really don't see a link between the drugs that we take here in America and cancer or increased cancer risk.
Okay, go ahead to the rest of the story. We're going to listen.
Okay, so slide 10, what we hear, like melanoma is really the deadliest form of skin cancer that you can get, and this is actually what happens when there's uncontrolled growth of these pigment-producing cells. Remember I said about the melanin pigment? And so melanocytes, produce pigment, and when they actually grow uncontrollably due to all this damage, due to sun exposure and all that, that's what happens that's when you get melanoma. And they can suddenly appear without warning, something as small, and then they can just grow very, very big in a very small amount of time. And they can even, melanomas can even develop in pre-existing moles. So if you have like a mole on your face or anything, you have to really make sure you check that regularly, because sometimes if you see all of a sudden a sudden growth, an increase in size or color, you really want to make sure that you get that checked out. The most common locations is really the upper back, torso, the lower legs, and then the head and neck. And it is estimated that about 137,000 new cases of melanoma are diagnosed every year in America alone. If you go to slide 11, there's an interesting statistic that one American dies from melanoma every hour. It's just a fact. And it's actually the most common form of cancer for young adults between the ages of 25 and 29. And the second most common cancer in adolescents and young adults, 15 through 29, And that's unfortunately, we always like to think that young patients or young people will not get cancer, but, with the tanning beds, more younger people are going to tanning beds or are just exposing themselves more to sun. They're more prone to getting skin cancers at a younger age. I mean, I've seen 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds with melanoma just in my own practice, and it is depressing to see that. But that's just the fact. So we have to really make sure that we limit our sun exposure and also tanning bed exposure. The fortunate thing is that if it is detected and treated before it reaches the lymph nodes, it has a 98% 5-year survival rate. So you can really, live a healthy life even if you're diagnosed with melanoma. But as soon as it goes to the lymph nodes, or if it spreads to different parts of your body, then it becomes more of a problem.
What's the chances of improvement? What's the chances to be cured completely?
It really depends on whether so if the tumor is not very deep, so how far it invades into the skin, that's how we used to stage it. And if it doesn't invade too deep into the skin, and if it does not spread to the lymph nodes, you have a 95% chance of survival. So that's a very, very good. Actually, those are really good odds to have. Now, if you go to slide number 12, who gets melanoma? I mean, anyone can get melanoma. Caucasians are known to actually get melanoma much more than any other race. But even among Caucasians, certain individuals are at higher risk. For example, you're at a much, much higher risk of developing melanoma if you have greater than 50 moles, or really large or atypical looking moles. You're at a much higher risk if you have a blood relative, such as your parents, children, siblings, or cousins, aunts and uncles who have had a melanoma. So if anyone in your family has had melanoma, make sure you go and see a dermatologist. If you're a Caucasian with extremely fair skin, then your risk is definitely much, much higher than Caucasians with olive skin. Redheads and blondes also have a high risk of developing melanoma. People with blue or green eyes also have a high risk of developing melanoma. But also, if you had a prior melanoma, your risk of getting another melanoma increases. Your risk also for getting a basal cell carcinoma and a squamous cell carcinoma also increases. So, and lastly, if you have a history of breast cancer or thyroid cancer, you also have a higher risk of getting melanoma. And that's because of a genetic link that we have found out,
How do you know you have it? What's the signs? What do you have to feel? What you're feeling as you're getting sick or you're getting melanoma?
Like, what are the signs that you have a melanoma?
Yes. How do you know?
How do you know? Well, the best way is to look at your skin, and I will actually get into that later about how to prevent these kind of cancers. But if you look at your skin and you have these brown spots that are very, very irregular looking, and I will get into that shortly, that you have to really check out. So anything that's pigmented on your skin that looks large, irregular, dark, those you want to have checked out with a dermatologist, But I will get into that on the next slide. So slide 13, what does melanoma look like, And we use the ABCDE criteria. So if you look at picture A and asymmetry, if you look at if you have a pigmented lesion on your skin, and one half of it is unlike the other half, so that's asymmetry. The border, look at the border. If you're able to, if you see an irregular or scalloped or poorly defined border in your pigmented lesion, then you have to be worried. And then also color. If one part of the lesion has a totally different color than the other, or if there are multiple shades of brown and black, or sometimes even white, red, and blue, then you should also be worried. The next slide, slide 14, the diameter. We're told that melanomas are usually greater than 6 millimeters, which is greater than the size of a pencil eraser, but they can be smaller, and oftentimes they're larger than 6 millimeters. So, and then lastly, the E part, which is evolving. If you have a mole that looks totally different than all the other moles that you have, or it's changing in size or changing in the shape, you definitely should get that checked out, with a dermatologist. And the American Academy of Dermatology actually urges everyone to examine their skin regularly. And this means looking over your entire body, including your back, your scalp, the soles of your feet, a place that we don't really look too much, between your toes. Again, this is another place that we don't really check. And then the palms of the hands. And again, if you notice a mole that looks different than the others, or it itches or it bleeds, even if it's small, you should really make an appointment to go see a dermatologist. And what the dermatologist usually will do is that they will actually do a shave biopsy, or they may actually even elect to take the entire thing out during the office visit. If they think that this is going to be a melanoma, they will take it out at that office.
How often you have to go to doctor? How often have to go for checkup?
How often? I recommend, again, if you have those risk factors, if you have a strong family history, I would go, every 3 to 6 months. I would say that, to start off, if you don't have any skin lesions, once a year is really a good, it's good enough to go. If you have a lot of moles, and if you have any of the risk factors, like I just said about, if you're fair skin, or if you burn quickly, easily, or if you like to go to tanning beds, or if you are out in the sun, such as if you're a surfer, or if you're, if you play sports a lot, then you should go more often. And especially if you have one skin cancer, you should definitely go more often to see your dermatologist. If you go to slide 15, the best way to detect skin cancer is really early, when it is the most treatable, because once it becomes more advanced, then your treatment and your prognosis kind of changes, unfortunately. And the number one thing you can do is really a skin exam. And I would actually recommend personally is that if you have a partner who can check your skin, that would really help out, because we often don't look, we can't really see what's on our backs or behind our heads. So having a partner that really will do that check for you and who knows what they're looking for, which is also important, that they're educated in finding these skin, these moles, that would really help. But having a partner really helps us in the early detection of these skin cancers and overall better outcome. Slide 16, how do you spot skin cancer? Again, we talked a little bit about this. A self-skin examination is very easy, and really a partner who helps you examine your skin really increases the chance that a suspicious spot will be found early. You can also use a hand mirror sometimes to take a look if you don't have a partner. But really, I think the best thing would be to just examine your whole body, front and back, in front of a mirror, and then look at the right and left sides with your arms raised, because sometimes you can have melanomas in your axilla, in your armpit area. Bend your elbows and look carefully at your forearms, back of upper underarms and palms. Look at the back of your legs. Again, that's a place that we often don't look, and also especially between the toes. There are certain kinds of melanomas, some really aggressive melanomas that actually occur only on the soles of the foot and also on the nails. So if you see a very pigmented lesion, especially if you see a line on your nail, fingernails or toenails, also be very alarmed and have that checked out, because melanoma can present even on the nails and on the palms and the soles. And also your back and your buttocks. The buttock area I've seen many melanomas in the buttock area. So make sure you always check that also.
On a nail, the color of the nail changes?
Yeah, the color of the nail actually becomes a brownish color. And usually what you will see is a line, a single line across your nail. And usually these type of melanomas actually occur most often in African Americans. So we encourage African Americans to really check their nails and the palms and the soles more carefully, because of a genetic predisposition, African Americans just have more of these melanomas that happen on the nails and these kind of locations. That's not to say that Caucasians can't get them there, but there's just a higher likelihood and certain races of getting melanomas in certain other locations. One other thing is that also check your eye. Sometimes melanomas can present in the eye as well. They can present inside of the ear. They can also present on mucosal sites, such as the inside of your mouth. They've also been known to present on the penis, and very importantly also on vaginal side, like vagina, vulva, those kind of areas. They can also get melanoma. So anything that's pigmented that you see, that you notice, I think it's good to kind of keep an eye on it. And again, if it increases in size quickly, or if it bleeds, you should have that checked out because it will really save your life. And going to a dermatologist regularly will save your life over the long term. In terms of, we can go to maybe slide 17. How do we prevent skin cancer? And sun exposure is really the most preventable risk factor for all of these skin cancers. I would say maybe alcohol is also, and smoking. We can all, stop smoking and maybe stop our risk factor for that. But really the most preventable one is sun exposure. And you can have fun in the sun and decrease your risk for skin cancer. And what I recommend is that you get a sunscreen, preferably with an SPF of 30 or higher, and one that is broad spectrum, so it covers UVA and UVB, since, as I discussed earlier, both UVA and UVB are harmful, and they can both lead to skin cancer. And also use one that's water resistant. I noticed that when I apply it on my kids when we go out to swimming, sometimes after about 30 to 40 minutes, the sunscreen wears off, and then we have to reapply that. So just understand that there are water-resistant ones, and then there are some sunscreens that don't have any water protection. So just make sure that you know that, and that you actually look at the label, and it will tell you whether it's water-resistant. But if typically you have protection even in water up to 40 to 60 minutes, depending on the product that you use. But you have to just make sure that you reapply after that 40 to 60 minutes is done. And also, let's say if you're toweling off, some of the sunscreen, you will lose that, and just to make sure that you reapply the sunscreen. And the other important thing is that you can even get sun exposure on cloudy days. So there's still sun rays that actually can penetrate through the clouds and actually cause sunburn, and can also cause skin cancer. So just because it's cloudy doesn't mean that you should not put sunscreen on. And that's something that a lot of people don't know, is that even during cloudy weather, I highly recommend that you use sunscreen if you're going to be outside for an extended period of time.
I mean, daily before you go to work or you are outside for shopping, you should put some lotion, skin.
Yeah, I mean, your body has mechanisms. Even myself sitting here, and you see the light behind me. Any kind of light source will give out some kind of radiation, but your body is always fighting to prevent cancer. It's just that when you get a significant amount of these sun exposure over a long period of time, that's when you can get cancer. I mean, I'm not saying to apply sunscreen, if you're going out for 5 minutes and then coming back, but just if you're going to be out there for more than like an hour or two, especially on the direct sunlight, I would recommend that you do use sunscreen. And I see a lot of patients that when they were younger, they never used sunscreen, and now that they're older, their skin looks terrible, meaning that they get skin cancers, their skin is really wrinkled, it's very rough looking, it lost its elasticity, it's just very, very firm. And these kind of patients will get multiple of these skin cancers, and all they had to do was just really prevent, just pay attention to sunscreen, wearing hats, wearing long clothing, to prevent this kind of sun damage to accumulate over time.
Doctor, also we have to prevent going over, because we are almost getting to our program, to the end of the program. I give you 3 to 4 minutes, your advice on general, if you have something to say. I know we didn't finish all your answer on questions, so there is some of them left on the slide, but this is our time, it's limited. So please, for last 3-4 minutes, give me your advice will be.
Yeah, my advice is to always be very, very careful with your skin. I think the good thing about the skin is that, you can actually see, if you pay close attention to your skin, you can actually see if there's anything that's out of the ordinary. If you have like a lesion or if you have a tumor, you can actually see that. Unlike, let's say, I don't know if there's something in my colon right now because I just can't look at it with my eyes. But the good thing about skin is like, yes, these skin cancers that I just discussed are deadly, but they're preventable. And all you have to do is just look at your skin regularly, and especially with our climate change, and the way things are going, we're exposed to more harmful rays from the sun. And unfortunately, we're just going to see an increase in skin cancers, and even in young patients. So I recommend, just use about a shot glass full of sunscreen when you go out for extended periods of time, such as if you're going to swimming or if you're going to the beach. Definitely use a shot glass full of sunscreen and make sure you apply it to your entire body. And that's my recommendation. But everyone should have a dermatologist that they see on a regular basis. And dermatologists are very, very intelligent doctors. I mean, they are, they know exactly where to look, and they know exactly what to biopsy. And if anything looks out of the ordinary, they will err on the side of caution and actually biopsy it. And I see that in my practice as well, where the patient probably didn't think it was anything, and then the dermatologist wasn't sure, but then they send me the sample, and I look at it under the microscope, and it turns out to be that it's melanoma or some other skin cancer. So it's good that they are overly protective of their skin. So I just recommend that you pay close attention to your skin, especially if you have those risk factors. And if you do have those risk factors, I recommend that you stop smoking if you can, or we know people that have skin cancers. When they stop smoking, the skin cancer actually gets better sometimes. So this is just my recommendation. And,
thank you very much. I appreciate this our program. Basima Raba, أنا متابع من تيتو على خرزة على يبلخي ياريخه أو هيرانا كابن أوتو اللي هي بخزقته مدرك برنامج خينه خلت على حلقة خرزة خينه جخادنا خيته شكرا لكم شان.
شكرا لك. أنت رابع بسيمة. شمشنا.
أترى مغرب عيب خرزديني كدارم شادي وايد مقدنه يوم الشبتة كساتة بتاعنا دكتور سمير جونا بتابع خديني يوم الشبتة كتصوير إيران كصاد خاي من شبتة كشرياني بس ما بخون لما شيتم صاد خا دا شبتة بتاعنا كتصوير إيران صاد خا بركترا وتمزم خمسم ترى وصلنا تبتابينا كتيلا مغزوية تشييتهم تاطوريتا كارديو من دادنا ميديسين درمانانا مديانا خينه تشييتو دكتور سمير جونا بديو بهمزمخ هر شبت بتاعنا بريشيت يوم الشبت صاد خلا مشيتم إن أخذ بتبشتني يوم رويتا سطلا بركاترا جبارس تي في يكتب بخايتهم أقول لكم سبايدانا على عشرة ومخن أقول لكم سبايدانا هشر بيمون لجروشم لشتيمون شتيت بشاتها خدشة إن بابروز نظام سيتم ترجيتم السبايلا كشمش زرابا لا كليتم بلاتون باي أويتم بزود دانا دت سانتان قد ماخيتم كجانوخون الباتوخون البيدوخون قد خدشة جانوخون نطريتم كشمش أنا.
Palo